All right. Michigan is 6-0. It's a bye week. So I was thinking about this today, and the last 2 weeks, one video each, I've said to you guys, hey, look, if we get a bunch of likes in this video, Michigan's going to win the game on the road, which they did both times. And I also said, hey, don't be the guy who doesn't like the video and then Michigan loses. I'll blame it all on you. It's a bye week, but I'm getting superstitious that this is a thing. So let's keep the like train going, right? We had like 1,300 likes on a video against Wisconsin. That one, almost 1,000, like 960 last week. So if we want to stay 6-0, if you want to keep Michigan be undefeated and stay undefeated, go ahead and like the video. Because if not, remember, I'm superstitious. I'm liking the video. Don't be the guy sitting there if they lose a game saying, if I would have just liked that video from Yoder on October 11th, Michigan wouldn't have lost this game. All right, we're talking some Michigan football bye week rumors coming up in the show right now. And the show today is presented by BETQL. BETQL is a betting advice and analytics service. Go get 25% off a monthly subscription, chatsports.com/MichiganQL. Use the promo code CHAT. Michigan. It's down in the comments down in the description. All right. It's bye week, so there's not a ton going on that we can kind of talk to regarding an upcoming game. Still have a couple weeks until Northwestern. That's going to be an 11 a.m. game a week from Saturday. So if you hadn't seen that one on the 23rd, Michigan is playing Northwestern I'm sorry, it's at 11 a.m. That's Central Time, noon Eastern for that one. So that's a home game. Then you got Michigan State the week afterwards. So I'm going to get into a few stories today that have been circulating around the internet and just give them the old Harbaugh head rumors. First up on the show today, it's Aidan Hutchinson. And is there some chatter out there that he could be the number one pick in the 2022 NFL draft? Yeah, that's one two Harbaugh heads, right? I've seen plenty of speculation on Twitter. I've seen plenty of chatter amongst Michigan fans, but I don't think fans of other teams understand how good of a season he is having yet. But at least one publication, Pro Football Focus, right? I don't know if you guys follow him. I don't really follow him a ton. But for the second week in a row, they have named Aidan Hutchinson their National College Football Player of the Week on the defensive side of the ball. And he's the only player to win 2 weeks straight. And I look back last year and the year before, 2020 and 2019, I could not find a single player on offense or defense that won their National Player of the Week back-to-back weeks. So it's fairly significant. And I'm going to talk a little more about what this Michigan defensive line has done, what I think about the NFL draft coming up in a second. But number one pick, what are we talking about? If we are being objective, folks, I want to try and be objective here. Aidan Hutchinson should be a Heisman Trophy candidate, right? You're like, James, you're ridiculous. You're crazy. I mean, he's having as good of a season, at least through 6 games, as Chase Young had a couple of years ago, and everyone was calling him a Heisman favorite because he came into the season with more hype, and it was on probably, at that time at least, a better team than most people perceive this Michigan team to be. But I think it's not crazy to consider if Aidan Hutchinson breaks out against Michigan State or Penn State, and of course he's got to perform against Ohio State, and he has a performance in those games against 2 top 10 teams where he has, let's say, 2 sacks and an interception or a forced fumble, where he just has a ridiculous game and gets another one of these National Player of the Week from a program, media outlet like Pro Football Focus. I think it's not crazy to think about, because who's the Heisman favorite right now? Say it in your head. You don't know. There is no Heisman favorite right now. There's absolutely no one player that has performed at the absolute top of their game. Ohio State fans saying their running back, their quarterback should be there. Alabama, well, they just lost. Ole Miss, their quarterback looked terrible against Alabama. So don't discredit the fact that Aidan Hutchinson could be a Heisman candidate if Michigan continues to be undefeated and he has some massive games when the entire country is watching them in a couple top 10 matchups they have coming up in the next 3 or 4 weeks. All right, we are presented by BETQL. I want to remind you guys, if you're in the state of Michigan or in the other states where BetMGM, their partner, operates in, Michigan, Virginia, New Jersey, Colorado, and about a dozen or so other states, you can get a free year subscription of BETQL just by going with BetMGM at that link at the bottom of the screen, chatsports.com/MichiganMGM. I'll put it down in the comments. I'll put it in the description. So type it in the browser or click on it in the comments description. Put $10 down with BetMGM and make your first $10 bet. You get a $180 subscription annually, BETQL, for free. And why would I do that, James? What's BETQL about? Well, take a look at this, right? I've been documenting how good they are. I don't want to plug this service if they do bad. And so I documented their 5-star bets on Sunday. What are the bets, full game bets against the spread that they were promoting on Sunday morning? And these were the 3, right? And they all won, right? Texans +8 against the Patriots, win. Packers 2 against the Bengals, win. And of course, who is that there? The Steelers, 1.5 favorites versus the Broncos, and that won also. And I didn't even count. I think there were 3 out of 4 in their first half picks as well. So go get going with BetMGM to place your bets in the state of Michigan. And use BetQL to win your bets. Get that $180 subscription for free. So I'll say it one more time. $10 is all you have to put down with BetMGM at chatsports.com/MichiganMGM. When you make your first $10 bet, you get this entire service, which basically tells you which games to bet for free. Don't wait. Do it right now. You'll thank me later. All right, let's talk more about this Michigan defensive line and Aidan Hutchinson. For the second week in a row, again, PFF has the Michigan defensive line as the highest graded defensive line unit in the country. Michigan at 90 was their grade. I don't know how they do these grades. I just look at them and talk about it from there. Georgia, 88.2. Oklahoma, also 88.2, which kind of discredits the entire rankings in general, given the fact that they gave up like 75 points against Texas. Nevertheless, Alabama in a losing effort, Texas A&M, 87.3. So this is the defensive line that I said that you thought, I'm sure, thought was going to be one of the weaknesses of the team. You've got a new scheme. You've got 5 defensive linemen in a lot of majority of the game with 3 guys with their hands down, Mozzie Smith, Chris Hinton, and then a handful of other players. And David Ojabo, Aidan Hutchinson just absolutely crushing it off the edge. So I'm going to say one thing to a guy I gave a lot of flack to is standing ovation. Okay, I'm standing already, but stand up right now. Wherever you're watching, if you're on a train, if you're in the car, whatever you do, crowd in the office. All right, standing ovation. Producers, everybody around the office, give him a standing ovation too. Shaun, Michigan's defensive line coach. I thought he had a really bad year last year, really kind of bad year 2 years ago, and wasn't holding his weight in recruiting to the levels that he was hired for, which was a recruiting first coach. But with this new defensive scheme with Mike McDonald, who clearly is bringing something new to the table, Shaun is not under the Dr. Blitz of Don Brown. He is doing a great job, and I assume it's him. It could be Mike McDonald, this whole scheme, but I got to give credit where credit's due to Shaun. He's the defensive line coach, and Michigan's defensive line might be one of the top 2 or 3 in the country. Certainly in the last 2 weeks, according to Pro Football Focus, they absolutely are. And that defensive line is led by Aidan Hutchinson. So I want you guys to predict down in the comments, what pick number will Aidan Hutchinson be drafted in this year's NFL draft, right? I think it's possible he could be a top 2, 3, 4 pick. This guy who I don't trust, Tom Downey, I don't know where he put on mock draft today, works for us here at Chat Sports, had Hutchinson at 5, right? I've seen Hutchinson go as high as 3 in a CBS Sports mock draft, but this is, Tom putting him in there as 5 is significant because most mock drafts had him in the back half of the first round, if the first round at all, once the season started. We're 6 into it, and most draft experts have him as a top 5 pick. Second story on the show, does Michigan have the 6th best national title odds for this season? 6-0, number 8 in the country. I'm giving this one 3 Harbaugh heads. And you can't really put everything that the sports books say. Can't give them a complete pass and say it's 4 Harbaugh heads. Absolutely going to happen. So I'll show you those odds here in a second. Do want to remind you guys though, I am on Twitter. I am killing the Twitter game, especially during games. I love game days. I certainly enjoy interacting with you guys. So if you haven't yet followed me on Twitter, at James Yoder on Twitter, I've got the 10 or more, it's about 25 or so shout-outs coming up on our Tuesday show. So make sure you guys follow me at James Yoder on Twitter. As always, I'll put that down in the comments, down in the description as well. Let's take a look at the national title odds that we're looking at here, right? Georgia's favored. Basically even money to win the national title at plus 125. If you're not familiar with what that means, they're all based on $100 bets. Clearly, you don't have to bet $100 to do that. But if you put $100 in Alabama right now and they won the national title at plus 225, that means you get your 100 back, plus you'd win 225. You got Iowa there, who is number 2 in the country at plus 2,000, which means it's 20-1 odds. Michigan, though, folks, I don't know. These aren't bad odds because I've seen Michigan go into seasons before where they've been 25 or 30-1 odds when you think this is a 10-3 team, 9-3 team coming into it, 6-0 in the, coming into the country. I think there's a chance Michigan can lose one of their final 6 regular season games, still potentially get in the college football playoff the way things are shaking out. Now, if they lose 2 regular season games, there's no chance. If they were to make the Big Ten title game, lose Iowa, if they were undefeated, they still have a chance then. But 25-1, That ain't bad. I think it's kind of worth betting. I might put a fat Benji 100 down on Michigan to get myself $2,500. Pay for my trip to the national title game, right? So we'll see what happens with that. I guess it would kind of suck if I put that bet down, Jack, paid for the trip. They lost. I had to suffer with the loss, and I was out the money. But I'll think about it. That's future me problem. No big deal. But I ask you guys this question. I just want to get a kind of consensus for how the audience thinks. Have you ever bet on a Michigan football game? Go down in the comments. Give me a Y for yes, an N for no. I, of course, have bet on Michigan football games, but I rarely do in close games because I'm superstitious, right? I'm a little stitious that I don't want to jinx them by trying to profit off them or anything like that. And I never can really bet against them. I've bet on the unders before, but that's not really betting against Michigan. That's just betting for maybe more of a defensive performance than the sports books would expect. So let me know down in the comments why for yes and for no. Thought this one was interesting. We've talked about the ESPN FPI in the past few weeks, how Michigan is slowly but surely climbing the rankings. I think ESPN's got them at number 5 in their total FPI football power index and are favored to win in every game except for the Ohio State game, which they give them 43% to win right now. But look at this. This is their ESPN's FPI game control rankings, and basically it ranks every single snap of every game for every team and how much control. I don't know if you guys have seen those probability meters of how likely a team is to win a game. Michigan's the number 3 team in the country. Now, they lost. Texas A&M lost on Texas A&M beat Alabama on a last-second field goal. So, in theory, a team with a loss is higher than them, which doesn't make a lot of sense, I guess. But it probably goes into the fact that Michigan was down in the second half versus Nebraska, was in a very close game against Rutgers, where Alabama's had a few more blowouts. But this is an interesting part of just when you're watching a game, and interesting to consider watching a game over the course of a season, over the course of 6 weeks, is how much a team is winning, staying in the lead, keeping a 1, 2, 3, 4 score advantage over their opponents. Michigan, number 3 in the country, performing really against any analytical statistic you want to pull up right now. Michigan, after 6 games, is always going to be in the top few in the country. This is an interesting one that I hadn't seen before, but pretty cool to think about. I'll update it as we go through the year. All right, last story of today is Michigan putting forth a historical running game this season. All right. And not historical in the grand scheme of college football. But for the program, I'm giving this one 2 hard heads. People are talking. It's the halfway season point. So you can start projecting how stats will look at the end of the year. Michigan's bowl eligible now, so they'll at least play 13 games. Could be more. Big Ten title game. Maybe a playoff appearance. We'll see about that. But I'm going to talk more about this running game here in a second. Want to remind you, though, about BETQL. If you didn't take that BetMGM offer, that's fine. I think you should, because I think it's a better use of your money, at least to get started with BETQL. You can use their service. I have been using them. I have had 3 straight winning weeks in the NFL. I am now 13-7 on the year in games I've actually put money down in the NFL. Chatsports.com/MichiganQL. 25% off a subscription service. It's $15 a month. You get 25% off that for college. If you're in college and NFL, $20 a month. Get 25% off. Chatsports.com/MichiganQL. Link down below. Make sure you click it. Check them out. Let me know what you think. So at the season midway mark for these 2 running backs, you can start projecting forward what their stats will look like. I know that Michigan had a couple gimme games in there that they won't have in the back half. So maybe projecting forward like this isn't completely accurate of what we can expect. But 96 carries, 607 yards for Blake Corum. 101 carries, 492 yards for Hassan Haskins. Michigan's bowl eligible now, so at least playing 13 games. Could be more, right? Michigan could be in the Big Ten title game, could go to the playoff. We're not going to count on those yet. So 13 games, both guys projected. 1,315 yards for Blake Corum right now, and 1,066 yards for Hassan Haskins. Both guys have 8 touchdowns. Gosh, if they were on the pace of touchdown, that we'd both give them like 17.5 touchdowns a man right now through 13 games, 17 or so. That would be pretty wild to think about. I doubt they get that many touchdowns, but we will see. Why is this historic? Folks, it has been 46 years since Michigan has had 2 running backs on the same team that achieved 1,000 yards rushing. 1975, you know who was on that staff? One Jack Harbaugh. Jim was a water boy for that team. But nevertheless, it's pretty interesting, and people say, that's not true. It happened in 2011, Yoder. Denard Robinson was a quarterback. Doesn't count in this aspect. Running back, quarterback. I'm talking about the actual running game from the running back position. So Rob Lytle, Gordon Bell, 1975, last time this happened. So bravo, guys. Another round of applause. We'll see if we can keep up. We'll see if we can get 2,000 yards. It's significant because Jim Harbaugh's teams have really struggled, and frankly, Michigan's really struggled since Lloyd Carr was the coach at developing just high output seasons from the wide receiver position, the running back position. If you get two guys with 1,000 yards, hell, that is pretty awesome given how Karan Higdon was the featured back for multiple years under Jim Harbaugh, and he barely cracked 1,000 just that 1 year in, was it 2019, I think it was, and just came up short in 2018. So let's see where they can continue it. Keep it up, guys. Running game looked much better on Saturday than it has the past 2 weeks. We'll see if they can continue against teams like Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. All right, I'm going to tell you one more time because you might have missed it. You've had 10, 15 minutes to think about it. Don't make this mistake, okay? Don't sit there if Michigan loses the game and say, I wish I would have liked that video that have changed everything. You're putting out karma in the world. You're putting out good vibes. Just like the video. You'll put it in front of more Michigan fans. And, of course, Michigan won't lose, and it won't be all your fault. So like the video to keep Michigan undefeated. All right, I'm back with some more Michigan football news and rumors on Tuesday. Until then, go Blue.